Being strong all the time is not a virtue, it's a defense. Maybe you spent your whole life hearing that you were a strong woman, that you could handle everything, that you managed on your own, that you were firm, decisive, unshakable. And for a while, you believed it, because you had to believe it. It was the only way to keep going. But what if I told you that this strength didn't come from your essence, but from a wound? That this strong woman you became was born from a lack of affection, listening, and comfort? That being strong was, in fact, your only way not to fall apart? Many women grew up in emotionally cold homes, with distant, indifferent, emotionally immature parents. Parents who never said, "I'm proud of you, you matter to me, I love you just the way you are." Parents who scolded but never hugged, who demanded but didn't support, who corrected but didn't comfort. And the child, she doesn't understand emotional coldness. She doesn't see her parents' emotional immaturity. She only feels the emptiness. And to survive that void, she learns to handle things alone. She learns that feeling is dangerous, that crying is a waste of time, that depending means being let down. So she becomes the mature one, the responsible one, the strong one. But inside, she's screaming. She's asking for help. But that cry never comes out, because being strong became the only way to feel loved. If she shows fragility, maybe no one will stay. Maybe no one will handle it. You grew up, and that wounded girl became an admired woman. Everyone applauds your strength, but no one asks about your pain. No one notices the exhaustion you carry. No one sees that behind your firmness, there is an immense desire to be comforted, to be seen, to be cared for. And you no longer know how to ask for help. You don't even know if you have the right to. Virginia Satir, one of the world's greatest references in family therapy, once said, "Behind every rigidity, there is unacknowledged pain." And that is exactly what we're going to talk about today. This video isn't just about strength, it's about its origin. It's about the mask you had to wear to survive. It's about how you can take off that mask without losing who you are. Today, you'll understand how this pattern was formed, how it hid behind praise, how it distanced you from yourself, and most importantly, how you can free yourself without giving up your essence. It's not about becoming weak, it's about allowing yourself to be human, because true strength is not the one that hides pain. It's the one that has the courage to feel it. And maybe this is the first time someone tells you that with truth. Stay with me, let's go together. The emotionally cold childhood. Do you remember your childhood? Not the dates or the toys, but the feeling of being next to your parents and still feeling alone? That is the silent portrait of an emotionally cold childhood. Cold parents don't yell, they stay silent. They don't hit, but they also don't comfort. They are physically present, but emotionally absent. And that, through the eyes of a child, is confusing. It hurts, and it leaves a mark. The girl who was born thirsty for love, affection, and someone to listen quickly realizes that asking for hugs bothers people, that showing sadness irritates, that too much joy is too much, and showing any vulnerability is being dramatic. So she starts to silence herself, not by choice, but to survive. Each time she opens up and receives coldness in return, something inside her shuts down. Each time she seeks approval and meets indifference, she learns to stay quiet. She realizes that in that environment, feeling is dangerous, and being vulnerable is almost a crime. Virginia Satir used to say that the most destructive emotional patterns aren't born from yelling, but from what was never said. This girl grows up without hearing, "I understand you, that must have been hard," or "It's okay to feel what you're feeling." She hears nothing, and that nothing becomes everything she believes she deserves. The absence of affection becomes the rule. The lack of praise becomes normal, and over time, she stops expecting it. She stops asking. She stops showing herself, and then the shield is born. The shield of the girl who never cries, who gets good grades, helps at home, and never causes trouble. The perfect daughter, the exemplary student, the one who handles everything alone. On the outside, it looks like maturity. On the inside, it's abandonment. It's as if she's saying without words, "If I can't be loved for who I am, then I'll be strong, so I won't need anyone." But that strength, built so early, comes with a high cost. She grows up hyper-independent, with difficulty trusting, asking for help, opening up emotionally, believing she can be cared for. She's used to being the one who takes care of others. But when she needs comfort, she doesn't know where to turn, because her childhood taught her that love isn't available. That affection comes with conditions. That vulnerability is weakness. And this girl, now a woman, constantly pressures herself to handle everything, to never fail, to always be in control. She doesn't realize how exhausted she is, because she never learned to rest in others, only in herself. And the cruelest part, she can live for decades without realizing realizing she carries a desert inside her, because that desert is the only place she ever learned to live. Virginia Satir reminds us that the absence of emotional validation in childhood is like denying water to a plant and expecting it to bloom. The good news? It's possible to replant your story. Yes, it's possible to learn to water your emotions with care, with truth, with compassion. But the first step is this: recognizing that the strength you developed might have been the only possible response to the coldness you received. And that's not weakness, that's emotional intelligence. It's your body, your soul, and your mind doing what they could to stay alive. But now, as an adult, you can choose differently. You can stop surviving and start truly living, without shields, without masks, with real self-love. The making of the unshakable woman. She heard it early on. You're so mature for your age. You're so strong. You never cry. You always handle everything, don't you? And she started to believe it, not because she felt strong, but because she had to be. It was that, or fall apart. And falling apart was not allowed. The unshakable woman is born there in the silence of childhood. While everyone watches and applauds her independence, no one sees that. Deep down, she's screaming for help, but she never learned how to ask. Virginia Satir once said, "Behind rigidity, there is always unacknowledged pain." And that pain hid so well that even she forgot it existed. Growing up with cold, absent, or emotionally closed-off parents taught this girl a cruel lesson. Feeling is dangerous. Depending is weakness. Needing others is a risk. So she builds armor, not shiny armor, but heavy armor. Armor made of rehearsed lines. "I'm fine. I can handle it. You don't need to worry about me." She becomes the woman who fixes, who takes care, who anticipates, who protects. The one everyone turns to, but who has no one to turn to herself. She's strong, too strong, but she no longer knows how to be anything else. If someone approaches with affection, she pulls away. If she receives a compliment, she deflects it. If someone tries to help her, she gets uncomfortable, because she learned to value self-sufficiency, but never learned to accept care. She was the daughter who grew up too fast, the teenager who pretended to be okay, the woman who never allowed herself to stop. And the more the world praises her strength, the more alone she feels. Because no one ever asks, "Are you tired? Do you want a hug? Can I just listen to you without needing you to be strong?" She became a fortress, but no one sees that. Inside, this fortress is quietly falling apart. Virginia Satir said, "We are shaped by our family systems, and often we repeat roles that once saved us, but now imprison us." The unshakable woman was a survivor, but now she wants to live, and to live, she must lower her guard. But how can she, if no one ever taught her how? How can she allow herself to be cared for when she spent her whole life proving she didn't need anyone? This woman looks in the mirror and sees someone competent, admirable, strong, but sometimes she just wants to cry in someone's arms. Just that. She wants to be able to say, "Today, I can't handle it. Today, I just want to be heard. Today, I need comfort." But those phrases sound strange, forbidden, almost shameful, because the mask of the strong woman clings to the skin, and taking it off hurts more than wearing it. She became a role model for everyone except for herself. She knows what to say to comfort others, but doesn't know how to comfort her own pain. She's afraid of being weak, but she's already exhausted from being strong. This woman needs to know there is no weakness in asking for help. There is no shame in needing, and there is no greater freedom than being who you truly are without a shield. Virginia Satir taught, healing begins when we allow ourselves to be seen in full, with our strengths, yes, but also with our wounds. The unshakable woman can still be strong, but with a new kind of strength, one that includes the right to feel, to cry, to rest, to say no, and to say, "Today, I need you." That kind of strength is the one that frees, the one that heals, the one that transforms, because there is nothing braver than being honest with yourself. The invisible effects of the mask. She looks fine. She always looks fine. Smile on her face, busy schedule, everything under control. From the outside, people see a confident, independent, even admirable woman, but no one sees what's behind the mask. And the cruelest part is that this mask, the mask of the unshakable woman, wasn't chosen. It was built brick by brick, with the words she never heard, with the comfort she never had, with the affection that was missing. Virginia Satir once said, "Every behavior has an intention behind it, even the most rigid, even the most silent, and behind unbreakable strength, there's a muffled pain. That pain doesn't scream, it silences, and that silence slowly destroys from within." She starts to live shallow relationships because her strength attracts, but also intimidates. She's the one everyone depends on, the advisor, the fixer, the pillar. But who takes care of her? Few people, almost no one, because she doesn't allow it, because maybe she doesn't even know how to allow it. She's used to being everyone else's safe harbor, but never had a place to anchor her own pain. She attracts those who need help, but has never helped herself, and that creates creates a silent, deep loneliness. She's always surrounded, but feels alone. She receives hundreds of messages on her phone, but none asking, "And you, are you really okay?" She's at the parties, the meetings, in the smiling photos. But inside, she feels a void she can't explain. And sometimes, when the weight becomes too much, she cries. But not in front of others. She cries in the shower, in the car, before falling asleep, in silence, because she feels ashamed of seeming weak. Because being strong became such a fixed, demanded, admired role that any glimpse of vulnerability feels like a betrayal of her own image. She has emotional breakdowns in secret, and no one suspects a thing, because she's the one who always says, "I'm fine, I'm just tired, it'll pass soon." But it doesn't. It builds up, day after day, until it turns into emotional burnout. She lives on the edge, but won't allow herself to stop, because stopping would mean admitting she needs something. And needing is something she no longer knows how to do. So she keeps going, wakes up early, produces, delivers, smiles, solves, until the body starts sending signs: unexplained pain, insomnia, constant fatigue, irritability, but she ignores it, because she learned to ignore everything she feels. She thinks it's just another rough patch, it'll be over soon. But it's not a phase, it's accumulation. It's emotional overload that became a way of life. And deep down, she feels she's losing herself. She lost her lightness, her joy, her spontaneity. She's even lost the right to be fragile, because no one sees beyond the mask. And worse, she no longer knows who she is without it. Virginia Satir taught that family roles shape us, but they don't define us. The unshakable woman can exist, but she needs to learn how to be human too. And that takes courage. The courage to say, "I'm not okay. I need support too. Today, I just want to be cared for." That's when healing begins, when she understands that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's humanity. That being strong all the time isn't a virtue, it's disguised exhaustion. And that there's an even greater strength, the strength to be authentic, to show herself fully, to allow someone to truly see her. This is the invitation, to take off the mask, slowly, gently, with compassion, and to look in the mirror with more than just endurance, to look with truth. Because behind the woman who handles everything, there's a little girl who just wanted to be held, and now she finally can be. The inherited pattern and the fear of repeating it. She promised herself she would do everything differently. She promised she'd be the mother she never had. Promised her children would never feel the coldness she once felt. And in many ways, she gives her all. She gives time, she gives attention, she gives love, often too much. But deep within the silence of her own limits, something starts to ache. Because even giving everything, she doesn't allow herself to fail. She demands more of herself than anyone else ever would. She blames herself for small mistakes. She demands perfection, and that weight feels familiar. She's trying not to repeat the pattern, but without realizing it, she recreates it in a different form, with a new face. But the root is still fear. She stays silent when exhausted, swallows her tears so she doesn't scare her children, hides frustration, anger, pain, thinking it would be selfish to share it. And once again, emotions are locked away. The cycle repeats in silence. She unknowingly teaches that to be a mother is to erase yourself, that to love is to carry everything alone, that to feel is dangerous. And her children, even though deeply loved, grow up watching a woman who does everything but never shows what she feels. They learn from this example. They learn to hide too, to avoid bothering others, to believe love means giving endlessly and never asking for anything. Virginia Satir said, "What is familiar feels safe, even if it's destructive." And the most painful truth is this: she feels safer staying silent than opening up, safer carrying the world alone than asking for help, safer staying in control than letting herself be vulnerable. Because in her childhood, she learned that showing herself was risky, that expressing pain changed nothing, that vulnerability was weakness. And even while trying to do things differently, she still carries these beliefs. She lives in constant fear of becoming like her parents, of repeating the coldness that wounded her, of causing in her children the same pain that shaped her. And because of this fear, she overcompensates, sacrifices herself to fulfill an old promise: they won't go through what I went through. But the truth is hard. By hiding her own pain, she doesn't teach her children how to handle theirs. By demanding perfection of herself, she teaches them to be too hard on themselves. By avoiding conflict, she keeps them from learning how to resolve differences with affection. The cycle isn't broken by overgiving. It's broken by being truly present, by a love that allows mistakes, by affection that embraces the human, not just the ideal. She doesn't need to be perfect to be a good mother. She needs to be real. She needs to show that she feels, that there are good days and hard ones, that she's not always okay, and that it's okay not to be, because it's in that space of truth that children learn what emotional safety really is. They learn that love isn't the absence of conflict. It's presence in difficult moments. It's listening. It's dialogue. It's affection that welcomes, not suffocates. She can teach them that. There's still time, but first, she must embrace her own story. Look back with compassion, not guilt. Acknowledge that yes, she was wounded too, but now she can heal. She can show her children that being strong doesn't mean staying silent. It means having the courage to say, today, I'm not okay, but I'm here and I love you. This is the silent revolution. It's not about shouting at the world. It's about whispering a new truth inside your home. It's about allowing love to flow with imperfection, with truth, with humanity. And that's how the pattern stops repeating, not through denial, but through awareness. Virginia Satir said, "We can learn something new anytime we believe that we might no longer be right about something we already know." And maybe what she most needs to learn now is that she no longer has to carry the world. She only needs to allow herself to truly be. How to recognize this wound. You're proud of your strength, of the times you fell and got back up, of the sleepless nights and still showing up for work, of the days when no one asked how you were, and yet you handled everything. You're seen as the fortress, the one who solves, who endures, who never falls apart. But deep down, when the lights go out and silence settles in, something hurts. You feel invisible, as if your pain didn't matter, as if to the world, only the strong version of you existed. And that's the first clue to the wound. Virginia Satir said, "Emotional masks are formed when we learn that showing who we are makes us too vulnerable. And the mask of strength is one of the heaviest. You hardly ever cry in front of others. Maybe you even think crying is shameful. Maybe you swallow your tears with that old thought, if I fall apart, who's going to hold everything together?" And that's where the invisible poison lies. Because that strength doesn't come from emotional health. It comes from survival. It was born the day you realized no one would come to comfort you. The moment you understood, still a child, that feeling was dangerous. That showing emotion meant being ignored, criticized, or shamed. So you locked yourself away, started smiling through pain, saying, "I'm fine," when your heart was screaming for help. And over time, it became a habit. It became your identity, the strong woman, the fixer, the one who handles everything, the one who listens to everyone, but no longer knows how to be heard. And this creates a silent contradiction. You love helping others, but feel drained. You feel angry when people rely on you too much, but guilty for not giving more. You crave comfort, but don't know how to ask for it. You want support, but when someone offers, you pull away. "No worries, I got it. I'm good. Don't trouble yourself." But you do need help. Your body knows it. Your soul knows it. Only your mind still hasn't allowed itself to accept it. This emotional wound has symptoms that no test can detect. It shows up as excessive control, as anxiety disguised as productivity, as insomnia when the silence of night brings back all the things you swallowed during the day, as constant muscle tension, like your body is always in fight or flight mode. You live as if you're always in control, but inside, you're afraid. Afraid to fail, afraid to need, afraid to depend on someone and be abandoned, afraid to show weakness and not be loved. This is the mark of someone who grew up emotionally alone, who was praised for being so mature when she just needed to be cared for, who learned early that no one was coming, so she had to become self-sufficient. But now, that's no longer necessary. You don't have to carry it all alone. That child grew up and now has the right to care for herself, to recognize this pain is old. This strength isn't virtue, it's defense. And only when you recognize the wound can you begin to heal it. Yes, you can still be strong, but with a strength that includes vulnerability, a strength that knows how to stop, that knows how to cry, that knows how to ask. Virginia Satir said, "I am me. In all the world, there is no one exactly like me. Everything that comes from me is authentically mine." So now it's time to listen to yourself, to recognize the inner voice that was silenced for years. That voice that said, "I need to. I feel to. I deserve to." It's not weakness. It's freedom. It's healing. And when you begin to live from that honest place, something magical happens. Relationships change. Anxiety softens. Guilt fades. And you finally learn to love yourself, not for what you do for others, but for who you are. That is your new strength, not the kind that suffocates, the kind that frees. The deconstruction of the armor. You spent so much time being strong that maybe you don't even remember what it feels like to rest your body, your mind, your soul. Because that strength you learned to display, the one everyone admires, didn't come from ease. It came from pain. And now, maybe it's time to look at it differently. Virginia Satir said that behind emotional rigidity, there is always unacknowledged pain. And maybe your rigidity, your self-control, your nonstop efficiency aren't really strengths. They're defenses. Yes, it's hard to accept that. It's painful to realize that the strength that kept you alive is now the same thing that's hurting you. But that's where healing begins. When you understand that strength that hurts isn't strength, it's trauma. And the first step in dismantling that armor is self-compassion, to embrace yourself, that small part of you, that child you once were, who one day learned, I can't depend on anyone, I can't feel, I can't be a burden. That child still lives inside you. She shows up in the moments when you can't cry, or when you feel ashamed to ask for help, or when you feel alone, even surrounded by people. And it's with her that you need to start a conversation, with kindness, with patience. You can say, I know you felt alone. I know you had to be strong too soon, but now you're not alone anymore. Now I take care of you. This is called self-compassion. It's when you stop demanding from yourself and start listening. It's when you stop judging your feelings and start embracing yourself for finally being able to feel. And then a new movement begins, allowing care. Maybe you believe no one can take care of you. Maybe you even reject help when it appears. Maybe you think, if I depend on someone, they'll abandon me. But that's the echo of the past, not the truth of the present, because now you can create safe spaces for vulnerability. You can choose whom to open up to. You can learn to ask for comfort. You can accept a hug without feeling weak for it. You can say, I'm not okay today, without fear of disappointing anyone. And little by little, the armor begins to weaken. You no longer need it. You start to understand that being strong all the time is exhausting, that allowing yourself to feel is liberating, and that the woman you are deserves rest, tenderness, affection. And here, at this point in your journey, I invite you to repeat, not as an empty mantra, but as a truth that needs to be remembered every day, the words of Virginia Satir. I am me. In all the world, there is no one exactly like me. Everything that comes from me is authentically mine, because I alone chose it. I am me, and I am okay just as I am. This statement is not just a beautiful quote. It's a homecoming. It's the beginning of a new story, a story where you can be strong and sensitive. You can lead and be cared for. You can give support and also receive it, because the unshakable woman no longer needs to exist. In her place, a real woman can live, whole, human, and finally free. The liberation. Being strong without abandoning yourself. There comes a time in life when you look in the mirror and you no longer recognize yourself. You know you're strong. Everyone says so. You handle everything. You're amazing. You're a rock. But inside, there's exhaustion, silence, loneliness. And the question arises quietly, almost like a whisper. How much longer do I have to be strong? But today, you'll discover that you can still be strong. But now, by choice. No longer by survival. Because the strength that comes from trauma, from lack of care, from emotional coldness, that strength didn't set you free. It protected you. But protection is not the same as living. Virginia Satir used to say that every defense is a disguised cry for help. And maybe your strength was exactly that. A silent plea for someone to see you, to comfort you, to say, you don't have to carry everything alone. But maybe that someone never came. So you stood up, you overcame, you built, achieved, fought. But along the way, you forgot something essential, yourself. True liberation begins when you understand that you don't need to fake strength anymore. You can say, I can't handle it today. I need comfort. I'm tired. And that doesn't make you any less. It makes you human. This is the turning point. When you realize that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's courage. Because only a courageous woman looks within and says, I deserve rest. I deserve to be cared for. I deserve to exist without having to prove my worth. The truly strong woman is the one who chooses herself, even when she was taught to dim her light, even when she was told that feeling is weakness, even when she heard her whole life that crying meant losing control. She feels, she speaks, she asks, she says no, she says enough. She acknowledges that she spent too long trying to carry the world, but now she chooses to carry only herself. And in that process, she begins to reclaim her essence. She learns to rest without guilt. She learns to ask for help without shame. She learns to receive love without feeling like she owes something in return. She discovers she can be a lighthouse, but also a safe harbor. She can be strength, but also tenderness. This woman looks at her armor, the one she wore for so many years, and chooses to take it off gently, with compassion, with courage. She looks at the girl she once was, at the woman she became, and decides that from now on, life will be lighter, more honest, more hers. And you know what's most beautiful about it all? She didn't lose her strength. She just discovered a new way to use it. Now her strength protects without abandoning herself. It builds without erasing her. It loves without forgetting her own heart. Virginia Satir once said, life is not what was done to you. It's what you choose to do with it now. And now you choose to live differently. You choose to be strong with boundaries, strong with love, strong without losing yourself. Liberation is here, in your decision to continue, but in a new way. Enough of surviving. It's time to live with truth. You no longer need to be the unshakable woman. You only need to be you, whole, imperfect, present, and finally, free. We've reached the end of this journey, but perhaps for you, this is just the beginning of a new way of existing, without needing to prove anything to anyone, without carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, without living to be an example, when all you truly needed was comfort. You spent so long being the fortress that you forgot you could also be a safe place, that you too have the right to fall apart, to breathe, and to begin again. Today, I want to remind you of something that maybe no one ever said with enough kindness. You're allowed to just be human. You don't need to be the woman who handles everything, who holds everyone together, who never cries, who never fails, who never needs.
You can be human with your pauses, your limits, your story. You can ask for help, you can open up, you can let others see your pain and still be loved, because those who truly love you won't walk away when they see your weakness, won't run when they hear you cry, won't judge you for wanting to be held. They'll stay, they'll hold your hand, they'll see all of you. Virginia Satir once said, "Life is not what was done to you, it's what you choose to do with it now."
And maybe now, you choose to take off the armor. You choose to let go of the unshakable woman mask. You choose to feel, to live lightly, to live truthfully. Yes, being strong is what saved you, but strength is not all that you are. You are also tenderness, sensitivity, beauty in the little things, a soul that still pulses even after so much silence. And in that silence, you can create something new. You can create a space where there's no need to pretend, where you don't have to harden yourself to be accepted, where you don't have to stay silent to be respected. That space begins within you. Today, maybe you don't know how to fully let go, and that's okay. No one is born ready to heal, but if you've made it this far, listening to every word, it's because your soul has already started to whisper for change, for rest, for truth, and that truth is simple, deep, and freeing. You deserve to be happy without carrying everything. You deserve to be cared for. You deserve to be yourself, without masks, without burdens, without expectations. The woman you are, with all your history, your scars, your pain, and your victories, is already enough. Your presence is enough. Your heart is beautiful, and your humanity is your greatest gift. Now take a deep breath, close your eyes, and hear what your inner child might still need to hear. You are not alone. You don't have to protect yourself all the time anymore. Now you can rest. You've made it this far, and that in itself is a miracle. So from today on, walk a little lighter, hold yourself a little tighter, and remember, you are not your pain. You are the one who survived it, and now you're ready to truly live. Thank you for being here. If this video touched your heart, share it with other women who are also tired of pretending to be strong. Together, we can begin a new story. A story where being strong doesn't mean self-abandonment, and where being vulnerable finally means being free.